welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, Megan and I thought it'd be very freeing emotionally for us if we could vent about common knowledge that is not so common anymore in light of recent events that have been bothering us.
Yeah. So this started, the root of this started because, there's a couple things going on this past weekend when we were traveling, and, we had a road trip, and, we went to, a concert, so I looked some stuff up related to that. That's where this whole idea took root, and then since,
people
trying
have done
to add
things
on
that
to,
we've been why are you doing that? That is not okay.
So we've pulled in on, some other experiences and some different, categories of things, just to be, more so asking, and hopefully many of you listening will, think
relate.
This seems like everyone should know this, but then also you can think of, a few different experiences and instances where, it's not been followed. So, it'll be good for us to just rant and share some stories with you guys, and should feel good.
So, before we get started with that, we like to do our weekly spotlight where we talk about the fun, exciting things that made last week worth living. So, I'm guessing it's the same thing for both of us. It's actually a fun little weekend, and then we had a fun little thing to top it off. So, we went to Algoma, Wisconsin for a cousin's wedding. We had a little 3-day weekend because we shifted our work week, and so we got to take...
Oh, this was the first 3-day break I've had from work since starting, I'm pretty sure.
Did you have any holidays you've taken?
I've only had Memorial Day, and I worked Memorial Day.
Oh, okay.
4th of July was on a Tuesday, so I took a Tuesday off, but I worked, it wasn't a 3-day break.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, it was great. It was also Megan and I, we've done a couple of road trips here and there.
Our longest one prior to this past weekend was we drove to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game in 2021, and that was 5 hours or so. So it was it was a long one for us, but not super long. I know many people drive much longer than that. It's not a competition. I am not here to say I can drive 12 hours straight, but since we always drive together, it certainly always is easier and makes sense for us to switch off, take breaks.
I mean, you might as well, right?
You might as well.
So got another road trip notch.
And I think we kind of decided, because we have to do another, we have to do a 6-hour road trip in September for another wedding we're going to. And I never really considered flying to that one. If I found a really good flight, then I'd consider it, but there's no nonstops. And I was we can do 6 hours. And this further confirms
we can, in fact,
a 7-hour road trip, especially on the way back. The way back
yeah.
really wasn't that bad at all. The way there became darker, and then driving at nighttime I feel just doesn't.
And we had
fast.
already worked a full day, so it was a long day when we drove up there. Drive back, not so bad. We have
weather was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It rained a little bit right around the time of the wedding,
which is good luck.
It is good luck.
We have a whole vlog if you want to see us up there during that weekend. And then also on the way back, another fun thing that we did, we went to an Ed Sheeran concert.
Yeah, which to be honest, you'd think it'd be sticking in my memory a little bit more. I feel I didn't even go.
So basically,
although
we've known
it's
about
part of my etiquette rules. So
what?
I do have some concert related etiquette.
Yeah.
So
we'll
jump
etiquette
in
that you don't follow.
Interrupting.
Yes.
It's funny because I thought of that, but I didn't write it down.
Oh. So there is this Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa, where they were hosting an Indy race this past weekend, and part of what they've been doing for promotional stuff related to the race is a concert series of sorts. So on Saturday they had Kenny Chesney and Carrie Underwood performing, and then yesterday they had, I think, the Zach Brown Band and Ed Sheeran.
How do they get Ed Sheeran? How do they get Ed Sheeran?
I don't know. And we've known that was going on for months at this point, however long they've been promoting it. And we'd always joke oh, should we go or whatever. But then we were going to this wedding this weekend. So we're well, it's the same weekend, so we can't go. And then turns out we were leaving early enough on Sunday that I was just kind of looking around on my phone being what time is the concert anyways? I actually thought it was going to be later than it was, but it worked out. The concert was around 4:15. And we got there just an hour early by the time we were back in Iowa and in Newton. And then we changed in a gas station parking lot and went to the venue.
Our weekend's still going. We might as well.
Yeah. And so watch an Ed Sheeran concert, which honestly, the crowd was a little bit lacking. I don't know.
To say the least.
It was an outdoor venue, and so I don't know how much that plays into it with, you know, how much I can tell the audience is participating
Like,
or
it
not.
certainly wasn't, like, a typical concert, because it was, like, mixed in with the whole racing thing, and the venue is different, and, like, I don't know how many people were or were not Ed Sheeran fans, but, like, come on. He is, like, the #1 most streamed artist in the world. I just felt like that being the audience turnout and the audience participation was a little lacking.
Mm-hmm. And so Meg and I were like, there's this mosh pit down in the grass, kind of by the stage that he's performing at, and then there's like the grandstands in the Speedway, and that's where we were sitting because that was a ticket price that was most reasonable for us. And I just felt like the people around us like weren't even singing out loud that much.
Yeah.
And so I was
We'll talk more.
hello.
We'll talk more.
Anyway, but it was a good time. It does rank probably like lower on the concerts we've been to, partly because of the crowd, environment, and atmosphere. And
partly, you know, to be fair, maybe lack of planning on our part, which it was last minute. And, like, I knew a fair amount of the songs he was playing, like, because he did play his most popular songs. But I do kind of feel like as a concert goer, it is your duty and responsibility to, like, learn the lyrics to said songs, especially if you, like, know a set list, because then you're going to enjoy yourself more. The artist is performing, like, they want people to sing their songs. So, like, that's what we did for, like, the Jonas Brothers concert we went to a couple years ago. We did it for Bruno Mars. I mean, I freaking knew, like, all of Bruno Mars songs except for one, and he didn't even play it. But if I go to the Jonas Brothers concert again this year, like, I know their songs, but, like, I haven't looked up lyrics and, like, actually got myself to, like, fully know songs. Like, I would do that again because I feel like it's just kind of your responsibility, your due diligence.
then you feel like if you're just sitting there, like, you're, like, waiting to sing the words, you're like, I should have done my research.
Like, that's how I felt.
Here.
I realized I needed to do that after we went to the Jason Derulo concert at the Iowa State Fair years ago. And I kind of was like, I'm a Jason Derulo fan. Like, I know his songs. It'll be fine. And, like, I had a great time, but I left the concert being like, I should have looked at the lyrics.
Yeah.
Because I was, like, trying to sing, and then I'd be like, ooh, I'm not really sure what we're actually saying here. So, that being said, should I say my categories that I have broken mine into, and then I don't know if yours will or won't fit into them?
Maybe.
But here are my categories. Some are larger than others. One is road trip specific ones. One are just kind of like social norms. A couple like wedding specific ones because we did go to like a wedding. A couple related to like events. And then like college/school.
I mean, I have a driving one.
Okay.
But it was related to the concert.
Why don't we start with road trip specifics? Okay. So, road trip specific, I feel like number one unwritten rule is that passenger who's in the front needs to do everything else the driver's not doing while driving. Anything they need. They should be doing directions. They should be, if you stop and get food, they're setting the food up in a very convenient way for the driver to then be able to reach and eat their food.
We got so good at this when we would go to and from Iowa City. We'd have our little Culver's stop or wherever we were going, and then, you know, you'd get the driver's drink set up, open the carton of fries, and then you set, like, the hamburger or the nuggets on the other side of the container.
If the driver, you're in charge of music, if the driver has specific music requests or what they want to play, you need to follow what they're doing or what they want.
I was going to say, driver gets pick of, like, either music category or, like, audio category. If they want to listen to a podcast, you got to listen to a podcast. Like, driver gets ultimate say.
They get whatever they want.
But the passenger is, like, the DJ queuing it up, making it fun for everyone.
If they need, like, chapstick and you need to, like, dig around in a bag or something to find chapstick, like, you are you're
their hands.
Yeah.
Eyes, ears.
So that is the responsibility of the passenger. And I feel like, you know, just as we were doing this road trip and as we've done many times in the past, like, it's just their job. And there was one time on this road trip, I was actually driving, and Ciera wasn't really responsible for directions because I had my phone plugged in.
Yeah. This was no one's fault. If anything, I was annoyed with you.
I know. But, so, my dad, I didn't know where I was going. That's why I have the directions on my phone. And so we're driving. As far as I know, like, I'm just continuing to drive until told otherwise.
Until told otherwise. That's the key word.
And so then my dad calls me because he was just trying to get an update. He had left before us, and so he was just trying to figure out, like, what our ETA was, where we were at. And so my phone, he calls me, and I'm hooked up to Ciera's speaker system, Bluetooth. So I just decided to answer on that. And then we're talking for a couple seconds, minutes, and then, like, something starts, like, dinging and, like, just making a noise as if something's wrong or, like, needs attention.
And we thought that was coming from his phone.
I thought it was maybe on his end because, like, usually when stuff like that's going on, it is.
You just blame something
But then I was just like, maybe it's trying to get my attention.
Maybe.
And then I looked at my phone.
And it's like, make a U-turn.
It's like,
make a U-turn.
Make a U-turn. Make a U-turn. Except I was like, why didn't it? I kind of just assumed it would maybe, like, interrupt and, like, say what it needed to say. But it did not. So then I was like,
hey, we could have gotten a lot further.
Yeah, we were only, like, 2 miles past where we needed to be. But then I was just like, Dad, gotta go. Hang up. And then we got turned around and it was fine. But usually the passenger is double checking the directions. What was also weird was on the way back, Ciera's phone would just, like, the music would lower down, but, like, no words. Nothing would say what to do next.
It was speaking directions.
Just very quietly.
But it was so quiet. The audio levels, for whatever was going on for some reason, were not synced appropriately. The music was totally fine, and the music would get, like, a little bit more quiet, and, like, the speaking voice for my maps directions would be like, turn left on. Like, you could not hear it.
So you had to pay attention.
Which was fine because I had it pulled up on my CarPlay so I could see the visual directions. But I was like, gee, thank you.
So the music was your one?
No.
Oh. You can add yours.
Well, it was related to the concert, but it's a driving thing. So I figure it's common knowledge or common driving etiquette. If there is someone directing traffic, you will follow said traffic director's cues and directions. And so when we're leaving the venue, very busy, obviously. I mean, we pulled into the Speedway.
I was like,
and oh my God. The cars that were parked there. I mean, I know it's a crazy, busy, popular event, but I'd never been before. And I was enlightened, to say the least, with how busy the Indy race gets. So anyway, as most very popular events have afterwards, they had people directing traffic. There were some roads and stuff closed off just to try and alleviate the flow as best they can. And so I'm getting ready to turn right because the person directing traffic is telling me to go. And the 2 other cars across the way just say, screw this traffic director, and pull out right in front of me to turn left the way that I'm going. And I was just like, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like, wow, people just don't follow traffic directions. That's crazy.
My other traffic road trip related one was when you're, like, related to driving at night. If you want to turn your brights on because you feel more safe with your brights on, you can't see out very far, totally get it. But if you are then driving and you see other cars coming towards you, brights need to get turned off.
I have a funny story related to this. Came up over this past weekend.
I know. That's why
Haley and Ashton.
But then this was twofold because Haley was telling us this story when we got back to the Airbnb. She was like, oh my God, that semi's brights are so bright, they have to have their brights on. So she was doing kind of like the normal etiquette of, like, she was flashing them to
her
say,
brights to be like, hey, your brights are on.
Your brights are on. Can you turn them down? And then I don't know if they were being, like, a smart aleck or if they were just responding to be like, they're not on. But they then turned their brights on. And I guess she was, like, blinded.
She's like, oh my God, your brights weren't on.
She also ran over a skunk on that drive. And then we subsequently ran over that skunk.
You ran over that skunk.
Mm-hmm. Not like, just like a little bit.
She finished it off. It was definitely, You know what's funny? Because we brought that up. Dad left the wedding after us.
And he said there was no other. What happened to it?
He was like, oh, must have left the road. And I was like, I don't think so. I think you must have just missed it because
Either that or
I don't think it was
another
going-
thing hit it and it flew off.
I was like, I don't think it was going anywhere of its own free will.
Yeah. So,
Rest in peace to that skunk.
sorry about that. That was all I had for driving stuff.
Okay. You want me to just do another one of mine?
Sure.
So this is just when I was looking stuff up. Workplace attire, I feel like, is becoming so not common knowledge with people these days. And I understand workplaces sometimes can get lax and don't care about attire that much. But even question just with some people's level of like what they consider appropriate for work. You'll see TikTok videos of people showing like their outfits of the week, and you're like, you can wear that to work?
What do you feel like, and maybe you don't know the professions of these people, but it's like, what is there like a profession that sticks out to you the most where like you see that being done, or you have no idea?
Well, this is just probably related to like my For You page, and I haven't seen one in a while actually, but I used to see a lot of like teacher outfits of the week, and sometimes I feel like the teachers would be like trendy and stuff, but like questionable in the level of appropriateness for work. Not even in the sense of like there's outfits that are appropriate for life and you wouldn't even bat an eye.
I feel like
but then in the workplace you're like,
interesting.
well, I wouldn't
It's
wear
hard.
that to work.
Well, it's like, because they're almost never supposed to be like, they're never business professionals. So like, I feel like technically they're dress code, unless like, is there one below like business casual, or like technically that's probably what theirs is listed as, you know? I'm not familiar with all the work attire terms. Maybe there's a level below that. I do think like teachers just have such a specific style, especially like females. So it's hard to judge, because I also feel like I feel like you know what I'm talking about when I say like just like a style. Is that whole genre of style not work appropriate in your opinion?
No, I think it's fine. I think I'm more talking specifically about the cut and like style of clothing. I don't care what color it is. I don't care if it's got like rainbows or unicorns or whatever on it. If that's what you're talking about.
No.
Well, then I don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like there's certain ways that people dress when they're teachers, not related to like unicorns or rainbows, just like outfits that they wear.
Then what makes it not appropriate?
Just like it's not business casual. So
See, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not asking them to be business casual. I just feel like there's like sleeve lengths or croppedness that they'll wear with their clothing.
Me a specific.
That I'm like, you shouldn't wear that to work. Or just other TikTok people besides teachers, I've seen where it's like they're wearing like a crop top, and even if it does like hit the pants like at the appropriate
you need to have
height,
a tucked in
I'm like,
shirt
I don't know if I feel like you can do that. Like if you raise your hand and you reveal your midriff, I just feel like that's not work appropriate.
I'll agree with that.
We've reached some common ground.
Let's talk about weddings / like, we'll do the wedding ones I have first. So first, let me touch on if it's a no phone ceremony.
It is crazy how this will just go right in 1 year out the
If
other.
it is a no phone ceremony, which oftentimes like people go crazy with like where they list it. There might be a sign at the ceremony. There might be something listed on like the invite that it's like no phones. This wedding, for example, also right like as it's starting, there's like the person comes over and they're like, "Thank you for joining us for the ceremony. We're really grateful for you to be here. Please keep your phones, like turn them on silent and like keep them down for a no phone ceremony to be present in the moment." Something along those lines. And so
it never works. It is honestly, it's astounding.
I have to
This
laugh.
is just another social etiquette thing.
Because then
where it's
people
like,
post the pictures and literally out themselves on social media so the bride and groom can see that you so graciously did not follow the request for a no phone ceremony. You know?
and it's just annoying because it's that idea, and this goes beyond just weddings, of like, oh, well, this doesn't apply to me.
It is so, like, what is that?
Or,
What is
like in
this
class?
doesn't apply to me. Ciera, I have more. Stop.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay. But that's what all these are. That's what all of these are. It's like, this doesn't apply to me. But it's like, it does.
It's a social
it applies
norm.
to everyone.
Social norms apply to everyone. That's why they're social norms.
Another one that I have. Wedding appropriate dress code to said wedding, where they list said dress code. So
This is
oftentimes, it's related to two things. For women, a lot of times, like, the biggest, think of one rule that you think of when it's like you're going to a wedding. What's one clothing rule? Women, I'm sure, are all thinking, do not wear white to the wedding. I saw at least 5 people wearing white as a base, a prominent base to their dress.
like white with like a delicate floral pattern.
Like, I counted 5+ people. I was shocked.
And honestly, we were talking about it at the wedding too. In the grand scheme of things, like, is it that crazy noticeable where people are like, oh my God, who is the bride?
It more so shocked me of like, that's the number one thing you think of when you're getting dressed for a wedding is like, okay, I can't wear a white dress. At least that's what I do. That's what I would assume everyone's doing that. So it shocks me to then think that these 5 people were like, I'm wearing this dress with white. Very prominent white. It just shocks me. So that was the first thing. And here's the thing. They're beautiful dresses. I know not everyone wants to buy a new dress for a wedding, but that cannot be your wedding guest dress.
Yeah. If you're going to have one wedding guest dress, it cannot be white. The base color of it should not be white.
And, like, I get the vibes where, like, we're on the lake. It's coastal. You might have a dress that screams coastal, like, event
wedding
vibe. It can't scream wedding, though, because it's a white dress. But maybe coastal event. And you're like, this would be so perfect to wear on the water. It doesn't matter. You cannot wear it. You shouldn't wear it. So, second thing is just like what men wore to this wedding. It was crazy.
Then have a discussion about the whites versus blue shirts?
Yes, after. But like semi-formal, I get like it's ranges wide and like high and far, up and down.
Megan doesn't know what she's saying, but there's a wide range.
Wide range for what counts as semi-formal. And you could see it. You could see the range at the wedding, is all I'm saying. I just feel like semi-formal, like, to me that means you should wear dress pants for sure.
Always.
100%.
Dress pants always for a wedding.
Okay?
Unless
so
they
one.
specify we're doing like a jeans wedding.
Or like a beachy, like linen pants are appropriate. But semi-formal, with no other context, it's dress pants. And there is no other
Get
option.
your slacks out.
Shirt-wise, you have a couple options. And even like how dressy, it's always like better to be dressier than more cash. Tops that would have been appropriate would have been button-ups, which I saw plenty of. You could go as far to add tie, a jacket on top. Even a polo would be fine, especially because it was like hot summer day, whatever. Even like a knit polo would have been a fun, kind of trendy, but still appropriate take on semi-formal. And I just didn't. A lot of people followed that. A lot of people didn't follow that. And I feel like it's just, you should follow the dress code for the wedding. That's why it's there. So, yeah. It makes me just more and more, because I've talked about, like, I'm going to send, like, a freaking color palette
Here
for my
is your
wedding.
Pinterest board inspo.
Please dress appropriately. It just makes everything look nicer when everyone does their part.
Please take a photo of you wearing your outfit and send it to me.
for
Send it to the bride.
I'm kidding.
Megan will yay or nay it. Anyway, then we need
Going
to
off of that,
talk about, this is not related to social norms and
this
stuff.
isn't like a popular opinion or like unpopular opinion, but it's our opinion.
I thought that it was popular, but then I realized it was unpopular, so you guys need to let us know your thoughts. In my mind, when I see a guy getting dressed up, my go-to is like, wear a white shirt.
And I always think like a white button-up, just like it looks the best. Nothing else looks as good.
Yeah.
It would look fine. Other things will look fine.
So I'm always like,
it's not as good.
Wear a white shirt, wear either like blue or black or gray, like whatever color slacks you want. I don't care. White shirt and then an appropriate tie that like completes the ensemble. Tie can be any color. If it's black pants or gray pants, if it's blue pants, I would kind of tie it into the blue or make sure it's neutral. And like that's, to me, that's the look. That's the blueprint. It's easy. And
maybe it makes it boring, okay?
9 times out of 10, like at that wedding, most of the guys are wearing like blue button downs.
And light blue it's
fine.
Common.
It's classic.
Very, very common.
But what I realized I don't like about it, and this is me being like potentially old fashioned because most of the couples were not matching when they're at the wedding. But I like it when couples and families kind of coordinate.
I do too.
And so, like, if I was
things.
bringing, like, a wedding date, I feel like I would try to be like, what are you wearing? So then, like, we can kind of
It doesn't need to be matchy-matchy.
So then if we
like,
take pictures, it looks good together, is my thought process. And unless you're wearing, like, a blue dress or something with that, you know, shade
like that,
in it.
It's almost overwhelming. Their job is to, like, be the neutral and then balance it, coordinate
like,
it.
You're neutral. I'm crazy.
And then we coordinate with the details and accessories.
And so Haley brought up a point, though. She said that Ashton doesn't like to wear white shirts because he wears a white t-shirt underneath it, and you can see, like, the double white, and he doesn't like when you can see the sleeves.
Well, that's why guys need to be taught layering.
Well, then I thought I saw a hack where you're supposed to wear, like, a red t-shirt under a white button-down. Supposedly. You guys can come for me.
I've heard the same thing for, like, red bras under, like, white shirts.
And so
a nude would also work as well.
I feel like he needs to try that out and then report back. Because, I don't know, I'm a sucker for a white t-shirt. But then my dad, he wore a blue shirt, too. Every guy was wearing a blue shirt.
Like, his girlfriend had, like, said, like, in her mind, like, a white shirt, like, so they both went to Catholic school, and so, like, in her mind, she was like, a white shirt just, like, seems, like, very, like, Catholic schoolboy to her. So maybe everyone's got, like, their own little different experiences, because I think my response to that was, like, different lived experiences, because, like, she has her experience, and in my mind, it's just, like, it looks so much better, because I just see it in, like, an event setting.
It's why 9 times out of 10, the groomsman and the groom himself will wear a white shirt, because it's classic.
Yeah.
And so, best. Yeah. If I'm dating someone in the future and we have a wedding or something to go to,
unless they're really putting up a fight,
he can wear whatever he wants. I'm not trying to be manipulative and controlling.
But if he's someone that doesn't care,
I'll be like,
would take my suggestion,
wear a white shirt for that.
And he'd be like, I'm always wearing a white shirt. And I'd be like, yes.
And that's why I picked you.
Okay. Let's go to, so I've got events now. Do you have any that you want to, what else do you got?
I did briefly have on here, I wrote swimsuit gate, but it was related to us being in Las Vegas when the person came up to us to say, hey,
did we touch that?
We did. But I just feel like it brings up the larger conversation of, like, when you're out and about in public,
how much responsibility do you have to, like, point something out?
Or just, like, at what level is it okay for someone to, like, come up to you in public to, like, instruct you to do something?
I feel like oftentimes, although this would fit in that category of, like, me saying it's acceptable, but I just feel like that was, like, a different situation. But a common rule I think that I see a lot of people will use is, like, if it's something they can fix like that, like, quickly,
you have, like, a smudge on your face.
Yeah.
You don't wipe that off.
Or, like, something in your teeth. Or, like, very simple things like that. Or, like, if you would be absolutely mortified, like, let's say, like, if you could tell that someone just, like, started their period and, like, they need to get that situated, that'd be obviously very uncomfortable for, like, them to find out from you. But also, like,
better to know to
them.
fix.
Yes. So those are kind of, like, the things that I think of. That situation was just, like, it was more so, like, that girl could have told her.
Yeah.
And not tell me to tell her.
I think that's where the breakdown is, because she could go up and, like, tell her anything she wants. I don't care. But to tell a stranger to then tell another stranger.
That's 5 feet away.
Like, no, I'm not doing that. You do that.
Because then I was so confused what you were saying. She already is turning around. And then there you go. You can tell her. Anyways. Anything else you wanted to say to that? Or
I don't think so.
Okay. So we're going to touch on some event-related etiquette, social norms, things like that. So these primarily came about when I was thinking of, like, the concert we just went to with Ed Sheeran and how I felt like maybe I was expecting something a little different than what we got. So it is my opinion that when you're at a concert, and let's say, like, a big concert, like, if we're talking about, like, a Saturday night concert series put on at your local brewery, a winery, this doesn't count. A big concert where it's like so-and-so's coming to town,
Ed Sheeran headlining,
you should be standing. You should be standing the entire time.
Unless you're unable to do so.
Yes. This was the only concert I have ever been to where I sat the entire time because no one else was standing. And in that case, I had to go about this social norm of everyone else is sitting. I can't block people's view, although, like, Ed Sheeran was tiny. We were so far away.
There was no view.
But I was just baffled that, like, I'm sitting at an Ed Sheeran concert right now, just kind of, like, rocking back and forth, vibing, rather than I know he puts on amazing concerts. He sells out stadiums.
And I
where
know
I'm
y'all
sure
are standing.
everyone is standing and singing his songs. So I'm just going with, like, this was a one-off weird event. But I didn't, like, Ed Sheeran had to have left that concert, in my opinion, being like, what the heck was that? I'm not doing that again. He's the #1 streamed artist on Spotify.
I thought Taylor Swift was #1.
She's #2 last I checked.
Okay.
I can double check right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if where we were positioned, since the crowd is facing all towards him,
I hope it was
sounded
better
for him. But where we were sitting, it
Right
wasn't
now
that
he's
loud.
3rd.
And so,
Many times.
and like
he's
I
won,
could
though.
hear people directly around us, and I was like, none of you guys are singing. You're not even
like I'm
mumbling
even
the words.
kind of like
I was kind of quiet.
mumbling
No,
because
I
you
was
guys
being
are
like
making
more
me
quiet because
self-conscious.
I'm like, I'm trying to sing out loud, but no one else is. So then you can just hear me singing.
The other one, that was actually the only concert one I had. Second one is related to, like, football events. If you are in the student section at a college football game, if the ball is live, you're standing. I will say there's sometimes seated rest breaks during, like, halftime and
Commercial breaks.
commercial breaks, because sometimes the legs need it. But otherwise, as the student in a student section, it is your job to be standing, and everyone else is going to be standing. Everyone else should be standing. That is also my firm opinion.
I think I should have probably thought more like related to college football games, because I just know there's so many things that annoy me when I go to a game, which will be better next time you go to a game.
Take
We'll
care
have actual seats.
when you're in a group of people all, like, going to an event together, like a college football game.
Take care of your own.
You got to take care of your own people. Do not make it everyone else's problem around you. That's a good one.
Example of that is when someone was standing in front of us at one of the games and just like passes out like behind,
onto
like
people.
in front of us, onto people, and then their friends are just standing there. There were like 2 girls in front of us that kind of were like, "Is he okay?"
And we were so annoyed with this guy already at this point. Like, I was not helping him. I would have if, like, he
Medical
needed
emergency
help,
It
but,
wasn't
like,
a medical emergency.
it wasn't. And so I was just like, I'm so tired of standing by you. Made the whole game just less enjoyable.
You know what else is annoying? When, obviously, in a student section, standing room is already crowded, and you have, like, 2 spots on the end of, like, a bleacher or something, and people are like, oh, you can fit 5 people here.
No, you can't.
Says
no, you
who?
cannot.
Because I'm not scooching over.
People will, or when people then, here's the thing, it is single file in the student section. It is first come, first serve. We're all crowded. I get that. It's going to be crowded. When people cannot find a spot, or, like, they don't want to go up far enough to, like, actually fit however many people they have together, and then they start, like, double lining.
It's like you got people on the
rows,
bleachers and then people standing on
and
the
it's like,
actual floor.
you're not supposed to be here. Because what if I wanted to sit down? Where are you going? No room.
You're in my leg room right now when I do have to sit, which I inevitably will. So this doesn't work.
It's just, okay. Last one I have, like, social event wise. Ciera and I have got a story for this one. We were at a social event, and this just grinded our gears. And I'm sure this isn't a new experience to many women. I am sure. So maybe you can,
Common lived experience.
you'll relate. Ciera and I were at a social event, and we were, as we do, like, we only have a certain level of social battery, I feel like. We can.
It's not even that.
I feel like we can be in it and enjoying ourselves, but then, like,
Not outwardly smiling. This is very relevant to the story.
so we were, like, near a table, kind of just, like, we weren't talking to each other, like, we were just existing, honestly, is what we were doing. And I don't know about most people, but when I'm just existing and kind of thinking some thoughts to myself, I'm just pretty blank-faced.
Nothing's
I
going
have
on.
a pretty simple face. Maybe it's an RBF. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's a pretty straight face.
But I don't even, like, some people really like to claim, like, they're like, oh, I have, like, such a bad RBF. Like, I don't even think so. Like, I will admit.
Just not outwardly happy, okay?
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. A middle-aged man comes up to us, and
he, like, knows us from someone else. Like, he's heard people, like, talking about us. Like, so he's like, oh, are you, like, the famous internet twins? And also, like, just that introduction, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I guess. Like, I don't know you know about me.
Right. And so our response to that was already kind of like, maybe, sure, I guess. But it's weird to, like, self-proclaim, like, the phrasing that he used, or, like, whenever someone asks that of, like, oh, like, you're famous. It's just weird because, like, I don't, like, internalize that or take that in. So I'm like, I guess if you consider it famous, then, like sure.
He could have said, like, oh, you are the twins that do, like, YouTube or whatever. I don't know. Then I can claim that and be like, yes, that is a fact. That is me.
Anyway, so that's, like, how it starts off. And, like, we do not know this guy. So, like, what he's coming to communicate to us or with us about, I've got no idea. I'm expecting him to guide said conversation because I'm not good at small talk. And he came over kind of, like, seeming like he had something he was going to say. And so we're both, like, we respond, and we're just kind of standing there looking at him.
And he's looking at us.
And he's
kind of, like, he's got, like, this, like, little dumb smile. In, like, a polite way where he's just kind of, like, looking back and forth at us.
Like, literally, like, looking back like, and forth.
When I tell you, it's not just, like, keeping eye contact. He was, like, literally, like, bobbing back and forth.
Which makes...
Not saying anything at first.
We were also silent because I'm waiting for him to... We just answered his question. So now I'm waiting for him to say something else. And I don't know if it was...
He might have been like, oh, like, are you having a good time or something? I don't know what he said.
Yeah. And then we're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, I just felt like there was more of, like, the meat and potatoes of, like, why was he coming over here? So I'm like, cut to it, buddy. I'm not really here to just chat with you, no offense. Then we're still kind of waiting. He's still kind of bobbing his head back and forth.
And he does the cardinal sin of what no man or woman, but mostly men do this to women. He's like, well, you need to smile. Like, smile more. Excuse me? What concern is it to you if I'm smiling or not? And then it was like the awkward moment.
It's so uncomfortable then because, like, then it's like, do you literally expect me to, like,
just creep a smile up on my face?
So instead, Ciera and I are both simultaneously, like, chuckling, maintaining a half smile to appease him, which is, that's so
we can talk about what we would have done differently or wish we would have done
so
differently.
agonizing to even think, like,
in the future.
But, like, that's kind of, like, where your mind goes of, like, this is the appropriate thing to do in this situation because I don't want to, like, be rude to you or whatever. But again, Ciera and I are now, like, still expecting
something.
Like, he is still in charge of the conversation because, like, I have literally nothing to say to him. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he wants. I don't know why he came over. I don't know any of that. And I frankly don't care. And he's already making me uncomfortable, so I don't really care to engage him in conversation anyways. It's, like, where we're at this point. And so, then...
Basically, like, nothing else happens.
Like, nothing else happened except for, like,
I tried to, like, look at my phone.
I'm literally waiting for him to excuse himself out of... You would think that someone would have, like, they'd be able to pick up.
He could tell that we weren't engaging in the conversation. I feel like he was like, why aren't they talking to me? And I was like, you're not even talking to us. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah. So then Ciera's kind of picking her phone up. He is still not getting any hints of, like, I should head out. I should excuse myself. And so I've done this, like, twice now in, like, situations like this where I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Because, like, I have no other out. I don't know what to do.
No, it was uncomfortable.
So, it was uncomfortable. It was not fun.
So let's now that we have this experience, reflect and say what we should have or wish we would have done differently so that if something in the future happens, we've got mental practice. We put some mental reps in. And if you guys have any experience with this and you have, like, your go-to
I want to be,
out,
like, because they make...
Let us know.
I just feel like I need to be more, like,
assertive
and upfront with like, they should know they're making me uncomfortable and it is not making me happy. So if I want to be like a little rude back to them, because they're being rude to me in a way. Anyways, I feel like good things to say in situations like that would be...
We had discussed one thing that would have been and could be appropriate,
especially like in this situation,
would have been, well, is there anything else you wanted to say? Or like, is there anything else you want to talk about? And then if they say no, then you can be like, oh, well, it was nice talking to you then. And you leave.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, he probably would have been like, well, I just thought I'd have like a conversation. Because like, you know that someone like that would say this. And then you'd be like, well, you're not doing a very good job conversing right now.
Well, I wouldn't say that. But I mean, like, if he did say that, then you could be like, oh, like, what do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? Did you have like any questions? Because you're not saying anything.
I don't want to open it up to small talk. I really don't.
I know, but I'm just like saying, how can we, because you and I were like the deer in the headlights in that situation. He was not uncomfortable at all. And so then how do we either turn it back on him, let him know, or him, her, whatever.
If someone ever says, like, if someone specifically approaches you with like you should smile more.
I need to come up with an answer for that now.
Like, should you just say like, it's not my job to smile for you? Like, is that snarky? Fine. Is it fine? Is it
I think that's fine, because like they're taking it upon themselves to
come tell you you're not smiling.
Like, it's not anyone's job to tell you what you should be doing with your face or how you should be responding ever.
Maybe you could just be like, and I think you should not say that to me, or I think you should leave.
You can say like, well, I think it's not your place to tell me that. That sounds stupid, but I don't know.
You should smile more. That's how they usually say it. So I'm trying to come up with like an equal opposite. You should leave me alone.
The thing is, what's annoying is that
they're trying to come up with like, they're a good guy, they're nice.
When people do that, you're like, I was just trying to be nice. Like, I think you should smile more. And I'm like, that's the thing, is that it is not your place to say that. You would never, ever say that to another guy. Like, if I were to go up to a guy and be like, you should smile more, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Why would I be smiling right now? I'm sitting at a table.
Yeah.
So, let us know if you are a woman out there and you have experienced comments where people are like, oh, you should smile more. What have you said, or what do you wish you would have said in that scenario?
Maybe that's what we call this. You should smile more. We'll just title it that.
Maybe. It's just it hasn't happened that much in my life, but it's happened like enough.
Where you're kind of like this is the kind of thing where it's like, guys hear about things like this and they're like, no one ever, like no guy ever actually goes up to girls and says that.
Point blank, right here. Said in this episode, it does happen.
And I'm just as shocked as you. But you're the guys we need. The
guys
that are so like, why would they say that? We need you.
We need you out there. We need you fighting
to make it so that other guys don't do that. Okay, I've got 3 more, or 4 more. More so like college, school specific ones. So this is kind of, I think, what you're going to jump to earlier. So one common knowledge fact is that you should be waiting until class is over before you pack up your bags and are doing all your ruffling and getting your stuff in your backpack. If the professor is still talking, you need to be nice.
See, I have not even related to that, because people will say, like, if the class is over, like, I'm leaving. I don't care.
That's fair. To just, like, you can try and be, like, a little nice still. But
if your
time, it has to, like, you gotta go.
Usually happens before class. The teacher is trying to, like,
I have that
gather the audience, and, like, class is starting.
Class has getting started.
Before class, people are standing up, talking to one another. And I get such bad secondhand embarrassment, especially during physical therapy school when this happened.
In PT school, when we're all like, there's only 40 of us. The professors know you. You know the professors. Like, what are you doing?
It makes it worse. Because I'm just like, we are in graduate school. You paid good money to be here. And you know this person.
You know when class starts.
One-on-one. You know them individually. Like, you know this professor. And you're just, like, up, standing, still talking, even when they said
kind of like
down,
they're
like, 3
still
times.
Talking, but kind of, like, acting like, oh, I'm headed back to my seat. And it's like, sit down.
Shut up and sit down. Like, you can talk to them in 40 minutes or 3 hours if it's musculoskeletal.
We have 5-minute breaks.
But I get such bad secondhand embarrassment, because I don't know if it's my wanting to please authority, but, like, the second a professor starts talking, I'm like, okay. Like, I sit down. Megan and I don't usually talk between class anyways. We get enough of each other. And so it's me usually, like, putting my phone away and be like, okay, class is starting. But this is awful in undergrad. Like, the lower level of the class, too, where it's, like, 100 people and no one cares about anything in that class. The professor's like, okay, guys, sit down. Please sit down. Let's get started.
Yeah.
But then you get shocked when you get higher up, and it still happens.
Next one I had is when you're in a group project, everyone's expected to do their part. Should be common knowledge. Everyone should recognize that, like, as a group, you've probably each got a part you got to do. Now, I don't have any, like, super specific experiences with this, except for, like, there was one time.
Apex?
I have 2 experiences then. One was in college, and I was in a group of 3. Keep in mind, like, people were already, like, usually in a group of 4, but I was in, like, a smaller group of 3. And then one guy dropped the class without even telling us, as we're already assigned together for a group project. And so I think we had to find out through, like, not being able to get a hold of this guy, and then, like, our TA eventually telling us. But then we just had to still do the entire project on our own. It's just not nice.
Leaving you hanging to dry. What is that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what the phrase is.
Out to dry.
Sure. This is kind of separate. First of all, I think part of this, the breakdown with group projects, to you and me, I think we think it's common knowledge that here's the workload.
Let's all come up with how to decide.
Split up individually. If there's 4 people, we each do 25% of the project individually.
Right. Because, like, it's too much work, realistically, to, like, feasibly get everyone together to, like, collectively. And it's going to take way too much time to do that. Like, you just do not have the time to have everyone work on every part of the project. Not going to happen.
But I think that's honestly how some people like to or want to do group projects.
Well, it's not the standard.
And so anyway, the other example we had for this was we were in this school to work kind of program in high school. It was our senior year. And Megan and I were paired with 2 other girls from this other program because it was called Apex. And we were in, like, the exercise and sports science one, and there was some other, like, medical one that was separate from ours, but we were collaborating with 2 girls from that group on one project.
I feel like we, like, just talked about this.
On our podcast?
I'm having flashbacks, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, then I'll try and run through it fast. Essentially, we had just gotten our wisdom teeth out, and so we were off from school for a couple days, but we had already finished our part of the project that we said we would do. But the project wasn't done as a whole because those girls didn't finish their part. I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly, this was like 6-7 years ago or something. And then Megan and I, like, passed out from, like, painkillers.
We're not with it. We are not
and available. We, like, wake up to, like, texts or phone calls or whatever from our school to work teacher being like, they're fighting, like,
the girls are fighting.
The girls are fighting. These girls are, like, told on us from, like, to their teacher who contacted our teacher, and these girls hadn't even communicated with us that they were upset about something related to the project. And so we had to, like, literally wake up and drive to the mall because they're for some reason at the mall. I don't know why they were there. To, like, meet up with the 2 girls and then their teacher.
And then our teacher was
there? I don't think our teacher was there, which was unfair. But then
the issue was, it was something related to, like, I do not remember the project entirely, but I remember, I'm pretty sure we each had, like, specific exercises we were focused on where you did, like, everything for said exercise, and I swear they only did, like, part of that and, like, thought we were going to then do the second half of, like, whatever they were going to do, like, whatever we were doing for the exercises and in the app. And it's like, well, no, now I'm doing, like, 75% of the work. And I'm pretty sure we just ended up, like, also helping them finish their part of the project.
Yeah. But it was weird. And, like, here's what annoyed me is that they didn't reach out to us beforehand, so we couldn't just nip things in the bud and communicate
that it's your job to do that part of the project.
And then their teacher was like, oh, I don't want to make things a big deal. Like, I don't want you guys to be, like, mad at one another. Like, this, we can.
I'm like, oh, I'm mad. I am mad.
And she's like, we can, like, just work this out together. Like, it's no big deal. And I'm just like, well, they should have been more mature and contacted us directly instead of going straight to the teacher to correct things.
What are we doing? We in middle school here?
We're in high school. This isn't middle school. It was weird. And
I still have bad
vibes
from them.
That project never even, like, we were supposed to be working on an app. That certainly never came to be a thing.
Anyways, that's all I got.
Let me look at what I still have left on my note. Okay, time management / time blindness girl from TikTok. So I feel like I don't even need to say who time blindness girl is, but for those of you who might be unaware,
you can like look up the original too.
There was this girl on TikTok who had said she was applying for a job or she was at orientation or something, and she asked a question. She said, do you guys have accommodations for time blindness? I'm not entirely aware what time blindness is, but from what little I know, it seems like it's a subset for people who have ADHD. They can have time blindness, which just
like
means
time
that they're
gets away from them.
bad at time management, but I guess with a reason behind it. And it's not just general like poor time management skills that some people have. And so then in her TikTok, she was complaining how the person responded to her and said, there's no accommodations. Like, you need to just like get your act together and show up to work on time like a normal person. And so she was upset about that. And then the entirety of TikTok decided, like, no time blindness girl, which I agree, because I think you can't make time accommodations for someone with time blindness. Like,
when you're getting paid
your work hours are your work hours, you'll be there. And so then, aside from just the time blindness stuff, people with poor time management skills, it drives me crazy when people are like notoriously like, oh my god, like I'm always late to everything, like I have such bad time management skills, because I think it's like fun and quirky, but it's just rude. Like, people with poor time management skills have no respect for everyone else's time around them.
Like, if you want to make yourself late to like things that don't matter, go all out. I don't care. But if it's like
an appointment or
even like, I mean, we were cutting it close to the wedding that we were supposed to be at, and I was like freaking out.
Well, what's funny is that you and I were ready like an hour before everyone else, but I thought we were driving together.
Huh.
And so like you and I could have left way earlier, because we ended up just driving ourselves. But I thought we were gonna go with Dad, and then Dad left, and I was like, hence why Dad was probably like, oh, were you guys coming with us? Because he never really verbalized that.
Yeah.
But we weren't late, so
we weren't.
But yeah,
Anyways.
I feel like I'm someone who I really try to be like 10 minutes early to stuff.
It's a good rule of thumb, I think.
What's the rule? On time is 15 minutes early. Who said that?
Or muscular skills.
That's what I thought. That's who I thought, but I wanted to make sure before I just threw it out there. It's a good rule, though. Okay, I want to talk about 2 more things. Movie theater etiquette and then just internet etiquette. So we're getting ready to see Barbie on Wednesday, and the movie theater has very specific etiquette rules. Probably first and foremost being no going on your phone during the movie, turning your sound off, no talking. I'm all for like the most silent of whispers to say like one small thing about the movie. I'm fine with that, because I feel like I do that once in a while to you, making sure no one can hear it. And I honestly feel like the phone one I don't see get broken too often, honestly. I think people are usually pretty good about turning their phones off, or at least like brightness all the way down where it's not bugging people.
Like I don't really see phones out.
And sound, I haven't had like a phone go off in a theater in a very long time. So people for the most part are doing good on movie theater etiquette. What is your take on like choosing seating? Because nowadays most people have to like pick their seating online. Like, do you think there's a rule of thumb for like, oh, you can't sit there?
No. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like in an empty theater, and there's like someone sitting right here. Can you sit next to them?
Well, no.
So that's the etiquette that I'm talking about.
Okay, well, then just don't sit next to them.
How far do you sit from them?
I think it just, you would look at a
What
seat
if
and
you're
say,
one
like,
chair
this isn't uncomfortable, and then
You have to
that's
like say, okay, pick the average of like the other empty seats, and that's the one that you pick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other movie related etiquette. This isn't really etiquette, but perhaps a social norm maybe that you and I would break, where we'd go to like movie Tuesdays or whatever, and it was student discounts. You get a small popcorn
It would make
and
me
a
a
small
little
drink.
uncomfortable to like be in a line full of college students who were doing said deal, and then they go
you're
up and be like,
scratch that.
No, I'll pay more.
I'll pay full price for the medium popcorn.
Yeah. But I wasn't going to the movie just for the small teeny tiny popcorn.
Yeah. I honestly, nowadays, like, the medium popcorn is enough. Like, I don't even finish it all the way sometimes.
I feel like my hunger during the movie goes down exponentially, because like I'll be we're like 10 minutes in movie and
it's like half
it's
gone.
empty.
And then you'll
basically.
get you'll maybe
And then
eat another fourth.
And then
the
I'm
entire
like
rest
so
of the
full.
movie. We just went and saw Elemental at the drive-in theater. And again, same thing. I get my medium popcorn. I'm like running through it before like the movie's even started. And I'm like, this is going to be gone in 10 minutes. And then do I finish it? No.
Mm-hmm. Like you get full. And
yeah.
then it's like
and then you're like out
it.
popcorn, where even when you get like hungry again, you're like, I don't really want popcorn.
Yeah.
But that's good. I will still keep getting medium popcorns because I like to have more than enough. So I'm not going to, some people are okay with leaving the theater to like go get more food or whatever. I get one chance at the beginning. That's it. I can't go out for a refill. I can't go out for more popcorn or like go out and get like a candy bar. People that do that weird me out. People like, I understand people have different bladders and bowels, but I'm like, people just like regularly go to like the bathroom during movies. I'm like, you go before and that's it. You can't get up.
In an emergency,
Maybe.
one.
Because I saw people talking about for Oppenheimer, they're like, if you need to go to the bathroom, go like when so-and-so enters this building, you're good. And then if it takes you about 2 minutes, you've only missed like so-and-so gets like the security clearance that they needed. I don't know what that means. I haven't seen the movie yet.
See, I saw that too, and maybe they were just telling the truth, but I was like, is this a joke? Because they're like, all you need to know, and I'm like, was there like something else that happened that like...
Well, maybe we'll get the joke when we go see it.
Maybe.
Oppenheimer. Which we still need to figure out.
You can never be too
when
sure
we're seeing
on social media if it's just genuine
mm-hmm.
or...
Which then leads us
to
to my last etiquette topic, which is broad. It's internet etiquette. Specifically, the bad thing about the internet is that being anonymous is so easy, which means that all etiquette goes out the window when people realize that they don't have to take accountability for what they're saying or typing. And so I don't have any specific examples, but I'll just get on my soapbox and leave you with this, and Megan can jump in when she wants to. Even though you can post anonymously online, you should not just say like whatever comes to your mind. You should be thoughtful of how your words might affect others, even if it's just like a simple criticism. As long as it's like constructive, that's fine. But just like a blatant criticism that either cannot be corrected or is unnecessary, we shouldn't be doing it. It's not good internet etiquette. The internet is already a hard enough place. Don't make it even harder. And that's the other thing. This is just something I don't get. When people like want to spread their misery online, where it's like you can just tell. What I always tell myself when I see a negative comment or something like that is like, well, I know that I would never in a million years like go through the effort that it would take to hate watch something or hate whatever something, make an anonymous account, and then type up a comment, especially the people that like religiously like hate watch or hate follow you and just always comment negative things. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
At least I'm not doing that.
At least I'm not doing that.
At the end of the day, the only person you control is yourself. So
yeah. So that's where we'll leave it at. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. It was kind of all over the place, but
sometimes, you know, kind of fun to
hopefully you enjoyed a little ranty
around
episode.
We post every Thursday, so 8 a.m. Central Standard Time is when episodes go live. You can listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. You can go watch a video version on YouTube. All you have to do is search According to podcast, and it'll be right there.
And we also have an Instagram. It's also at According to. You can follow us there. We post stuff on our story related to if we want viewer submissions or want you guys to help us out with some episode ideas. That's where we post for that stuff.
Otherwise, we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.